ladies and gentlemen, it's Young here and welcome to a Metal Gear Solid 5 news update. If you've been keeping up with the latest news or watched my previous video, you will know by now that Kojima hosted an event called Boot Camp 2014 to allow game journalists to get their hands on ground zeros and share their impressions. In my previous video, I talked about the journalists' positive impressions of the game's length and replay value. Now, I would like to talk about some story details and gameplay impressions. Overall impressions were extremely positive. In terms of story, many were particularly mind-blown by the ending. One journalist, Samuel Hubner, tweeted the following: "Just saw the ending. Goosebumps, disbelief, shock. Reboots game. I'm going back in." It's lovely to see how intense Hideo Kojima's passion is for proper, epic, emotionally driven, high-end productions. Journalists Sam Smith and Sergio Pennacini had similar opinions to share, with the former calling the ending to Ground Zeroes crazy exciting and complimenting Kojima for being the absolute best at what he does, and with the latter noting that the Ground Zeroes ending is really emotional. Thankfully, the ending wasn't spoiled by anyone, allowing us to experience this thrilling ride for ourselves. Something else that is interesting to note is that according to Sam Smith, a lot of exposition can be found not only through cutscenes, but also through audio tapes found throughout the world, allowing players to listen to story details while playing without pause, similar to audio logs in the BioShock games. Journalist Douglas also complimented this aspect of the game, stating that he really likes the way they're using audio logs to tell parts of the story, and that the recordings themselves are actually really well done. Finally, for story, Sam Smith stated that the game seems to be less reliant on cutscenes and more on gameplay for storytelling, which he personally found to be great. In fact, according to a post by Andy Robinson, the main mission basically has two cutscenes, one of them being the 10 minutes intro cutscene that we have all seen already. Aaron Hansen also appreciated this, saying that it really shows the shift in focus from story to gameplay. Sounds pretty awesome. I have a feeling that this more involved storytelling method and mind-blowing ending will ensure satisfaction amongst both fans of the franchise and casual MGS players alike. Now let's talk about new gameplay details. Keep in mind that all these journalists only tweeted their first impressions. Full articles will release in the following weeks when the embargo is lifted in early March, so they couldn't go into too much detail. Regardless, there are some interesting things to share. Every journalist seemed to agree upon the fact that Snake controls smoother and better than ever before, all while staying true to the MGS formula. One journalist, Douglas, specifically mentioned that controls are much better than MGS4, and that it was really easy to do all the stuff you want, like interrogating enemies, CQC, etc. Further enhancing gameplay were the ridiculous amount of details added to Ground Zeroes. The integrated motion capture animations have been said to be top-notch. Every soldier was said to have a unique appearance with individual faces. Objects could be individually knocked over and they made noise. Guards engaged in conversations that, when eavesdropped, could totally change the mission at times. There were lots of surprising fan service to be found, and more. The little details have always been a specialty of Kojima's, things that players may miss the first time around, but discover the second or third time, and it's good to know that Ground Zeroes is no different in that respect. Another topic of discussion was the game's core gameplay mechanics. Journalists noted that the stealth aspect is the best it's been, and that it's also the most fun way to tackle missions, although there are some who have done the run-and-gun method and have confirmed it to be an option as well. One particular journalist, Samuel Hubner, complimented the thrill of using a shotgun in Ground Zeroes, describing it as a portable version of Satan's sphincter, shooting small bits of nuclear diarrhea. Love the way that's worded, I must say. Another run-and-gunner was Andy Robinson, who shared some details about the detection mechanics of Ground Zeroes. He posted the following: "MGS gameplay in a sandbox is a lot less stressful. If you alert the guards, you can escape from last known position." In other words, rather than featuring guards that are full-out psychic, like in previous games, Metal Gear Solid 5 will use a last known position mechanic, kinda like some of the later Splinter Cell games, but on a much larger scale, making stealth more realistic. Speaking of those who played stealthily, they were especially impressed by how many distinct ways there were to achieve each objective. One particular journalist, Giacomo Vaccari, noted that he was finding 3 to 5 distinct ways of achieving every objective, using only stealth, and like many others, he was compelled to replay missions and try them again with another playstyle. Sergio Pennacini had similar thoughts to share, stating that you really are free to take on the same objective in many ways, many different ways to be really awesome. Many were also thrilled by Ground Zeroes' harder difficulty options, with various gameplay features turned off. Journalist Giacomo was the first to do a pacifist run of a mission in the hardest mode, posting that his heart was racing, that the escape was exhilarating, and describing the experience with one word: amazing. For fans of the franchise, he noted that they'll be extremely pleased at what the game's harder modes and difficulties have to offer. Players will also be pleased by the missions themselves, according to Sergio Pinnacini. There are some people out there who are worried that the side missions will end up being throwaways, but not only are they 30 minutes to 2 hours long, as mentioned in my previous video, but according to Sergio, the 5 side missions are really a lot of fun, with some classy Hideo Kojima touches. So don't worry folks, you'll be spending all 5+ hours of Ground Zeroes in tactical espionage bliss. So as you can all see, it's just compliments after compliments for the game's length, replay value, controls, core mechanics, and overall experience. A few journalists also had some things to say about Kiefer's performance as Big Boss, stating that he was easy to get used to and that he's actually quite good as the iconic character. One journalist, Sam Smith, put it in simple terms: "I've been converted." And with that, I would like to end this news update, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Let our nation know in the comments below your thoughts about Ground Zeroes after hearing and reading all these impressions. And to be further updated on Metal Gear Solid 5, be sure to join the nation and subscribe to Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much, and Young out!